Hey guys, welcome to or welcome back to Willow Creek. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day wherever you are watching from. So, in today's video, I am just going to be pressure canning some beans with you guys. This was a project that I decided to do after work one day, and it's a little bit of a short and sweet video, but I still wanted to show you guys because I know I have a lot of beginners on the channel that are new to pressure canning. So this will just be a step-by-step guide. So basically, whatever beans you are canning, these happen to be Great Northern beans, but you could do black beans, pinto beans, whatever kind of beans. You just want to make sure that you soak the beans overnight for at least 24 hours, and you can continue to add water to these. Make sure you get a big bowl to put them in. I put in about double the amount of water at first, and then that was not enough. So I just continued to add to it. So you can them without soaking them, but I prefer to. So after the 24-hour mark, I am just going to strain these off. I went ahead and strained all the beans, rinsed them off really good. The footage beforehand was me showing a bad spot. Make sure you go through and get all of the bad ones out. But then I go ahead and start filling my jars up to a little bit less than an inch of headspace in the jar itself. So in this particular video, I'm going to be canning pints and quarts. It doesn't matter. You can do them in whatever size you would like. And then after I fill each jar, I just go ahead and add a little bit of salt. Now that is totally optional. And then I'm going to add water back to each of these jars. And again, we're going to be leaving an inch of headspace. So that is right below the neck of the jar. So go ahead and get that water in those. And then I'm going to go through and debubble these really, really well. And then you are just going to want to go back and make sure your water levels are good after you debubble. Get your lids and your bands on and start placing those in your canner. Now, since the water and stuff that I was using was not hot, I did not have my canner hot. Now, it is recommended to boil these. I usually don't do that, but if you would like to follow it precisely, you should probably boil them for 30 minutes. So in that case, you would need hot water to go with your hot beans. But since I'm just doing them cooled off, I'm just going ahead and placing them in the canner as is, and then I'm adding room temperature water to these. So just remember, whenever you're canning, you want to keep the temperatures as consistent as you possibly can. If you're using hot contents in your jars, like if the product itself is very warm, then you need to match the water temperature to that. If it's cooled off, then you can use room temperature and so on and so forth. So I'm just going back and getting some of these quarts filled up, and in my canner, I can do 7 quarts and 9 pints. So I just mixed and matched them. I think I ended up adding maybe like 4 quarts to this and 3 pints. But then I'm just going ahead and making sure the rings are all put on, getting them loaded up in my canner. And then after these are loaded up in the canner, we will add some water. Now, every canner is different, so make sure you read your manual. But for my canner specifically, it's 3 quarts of water and 1 extra quart of water if we go over the hour mark. So after we have all of those loaded up, I'm just aligning the little arrows on the sides together and shutting the lid. Now we need to wait for this to steam, and you need to flip your heat all the way up to a high. So I was just using my knife so that you could see that it was steaming. We need to let it roll at a full steam for 10 minutes, no sputtering or anything. Once that's done, then we can stick our weight on there. So this is my jiggler weight. These little rings are the equivalent of 5 pounds of pressure. So the jiggler by itself is 5 pounds. Another ring on it would be 10 pounds. And then the last ring is 15 pounds. So we are going to be canning this at 10 pounds of pressure. So this has steamed for 10 minutes. My pressure gauge is up. I have added the jiggler weight. And now we keep this at a high until this starts jiggling. So once the jiggler starts jiggling, I find a really good medium spot on my stove, and then I set my timer for 90 minutes. Because we're pressure canning quarts as well, you need to do it for the one that is the most amount of time. If we were doing only pints, then it would be 75 minutes, but since we're doing quarts and pints, we need to do it for 90 minutes. So after 90 minutes, we wait for the canner to completely cool down and the pressure gauge to come down on its own. You then can take the weight off and open the canner and start taking out your jars. Now, typically I wait a good 5 to 10 minutes after the lid is open for everything to cool down before I start taking them out. I would recommend that because everything is going to be incredibly hot. So here was the first batch. And here's the second batch left to can. And then I went ahead and grabbed out some extra quarts and filled them with water. I had some lids that already had writing on them that I just wanted to go ahead and get reused. If I'm doing water, I go ahead and just reuse them. I don't recommend it for all your canning, but it works really good if you are canning water or something like that. So, after allowing all of your jars to sit for a full 24 hours after coming out of the canner, I do go through and wash them off really, really well. For most everything that I can, I wash my jars off, but especially like potatoes or beans, a lot of the starchy, like gooey components, they will leak out of your jars more often than not. And you'll just have like gritty, not very like cleanly things on your jars. So I would highly recommend washing them all off. And then I just go ahead and get them dried off really, really good. And then after I dry all of the jars off, I do go ahead and get them all labeled up. And I love having beans in my pantry, you guys. It's so convenient, especially for the winter months for soups and ham and beans. Those are some of my favorite recipes to use with the Great Northern beans, but you can also do like baked beans and a bunch of other things. So again, I'm just getting all of these labeled up and then all of them here are completely done. So super happy to add these to the pantry. Thanks so much for watching, guys. See you next time.